go. Good evening, everyone. Hello and welcome to Mind the Crack, a series of webinars that we're doing on life improvement tools from the writings of L. Ron Hubbard as a base for all these contents. So we're covering the subject of study and learning in this current small section of webinars. And this evening I'm joined by Yanni. Hello, Yanni.
Hello, Darren. Thank you for inviting me.
It's great to have you here, yes.
Thank you.
So you are an accomplished saxophone player.
Well, accomplished. I'm happy with my progress.
Very good.
But yeah, I can say that,
Excellent.
Not like a famous or whatever, but accomplished on what I want to accomplish with playing the saxophone.
Very good.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that I brought you on is, for me, I consider the saxophone and a lot of those woodwind type instruments, or the wind type instruments, because you don't just use your hands, you got to master something with the mouth and the hands at the same time. So I play guitar, and you can sing, and obviously there's a talent that goes with that, but it's definitely a complicated instrument. So since the topic of today is how to learn a difficult subject, I thought it'd be great if you could share some ideas.
Yeah.
Now, before we start, though, I'm going to check in because a lot of you are joining us on Zoom, and I'm live on Zoom here and in the chat, and you may also be watching on Facebook or through YouTube or even Instagram. And so, aside from myself here being connected with Zoom, I also have a couple of people assisting me, and you might see if you make any comments or you have any questions, or you'd like to let us know that what we're talking about, you're giving us an acknowledgement. On Zoom or the other platforms, you can give thumbs up, you can send hearts, you can give any sort of acknowledgement you want, put in a comment there, and you'll see Sylvia is assisting me today. So if you have a question and I don't see it immediately, Sylvia will be able to help you and she can answer questions there. But otherwise, we're going to have a conversation about difficult subjects and that sort of thing. And I will just launch a little chat message there myself. Hello everyone, welcome to Mind the Crack. So you can type in and send us anything along that you like. Okay, so let's get started.
Very good.
Question for you, Yanni. How did you get into learning or deciding to learn the saxophone?
Well, music, it was a big thing for me since I was a young teenager. I grew up listening music. Nobody taught me or, but I was always drawn to music since I was like, in the basic school actually, and then, I started with, of course, rock music over the time.
So this is in Greece because
in Greece, yes,
I did forget to mention that you're Greek.
Yeah, I'm Greek.
So in that time in Greece, what music were you listening to? What was your favorite?
Basically, who were few on my age. Now, when I'm saying on my age, who started listening to rock music when I was in the basic school, how old you are, 10 years of age,
right?
Who would go to a friend of mine, and his big cousin or weird guy with long hair who didn't understand him. He had a big record collection. I said, wow, Led Zeppelin, Jesus, what the hell is that? Right. The first records of Queen, good, or who started so I started developing my love for rock music.
Yeah.
From Jimi Hendrix to Led Zeppelin to Jethro Tull was my big passion. Mm-hmm. And the first band that inspired me to learn to play music, because I don't know if you know Jethro Tull, they used to combine a folklore music with jazz and rock. And Ian Anderson, he was a fantastic flute player. So I was trying to imitate him. Uh-huh. I used to have long hair.
Right.
And I was playing the flute,
So an actual flute though, one of my versions when I was growing up, if I was trying to imitate something I saw on TV, I was pretending, whether it might have been a stick or something like that, but you actually took up the flute.
Oh yeah, I started playing flute.
Okay.
And I was in a band, I was playing flute, long hair back then, everything. And then it's trying to get more to the music, then I went to more progressive rock with elements of jazz and King Crimson, of course, Pink Floyd, and bands that will have woodwinds, flute, saxophones. So that was my inspiration, and bit by bit I went to more. At the same time, I was drawn heavily to jazz, but also at the same time I was listening heavily to classical music.
Wow! So you had a huge selection of interest.
Yeah, people would say, "How come? I mean, you look like hippie or whatever." You listen to Jethro Tull, you listen to Led Zeppelin, you listen to Jimi Hendrix, you listen to all this Pink Floyd or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you listen to Dvorak, you listen to Tchaikovsky, you listen to Stravinsky, all the modern and classical Bach, Vivaldi. So people, they were confused on that, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, I will be working, and in my workstation, who are doing like electrical installations,
Yeah.
you know, you look at me and you say, okay, yeah. And then I will have radio and I will be listening like classical music.
Long hair.
Yeah.
Doing his work, and then
people
classical
say,
music going.
what is going on with this guy, you know? Anyway, I had a huge passion for the music.
Yeah.
And then what really hit me, like really going to the saxophone big times, it was listening to one of the greatest saxophone players, which I love him from back then all the way to present time. It was John Coltrane.
Yes.
John Coltrane, he is, for me, he is like the number one, right?
Master,
I mean, there's many, but to understand my passion about the saxophone, specifically for John Coltrane, back in the 70s when I was working, building the university in Athens, people, they will write letters, you know, like, you know, Anarchy 76 or whatever, or bring down the government or whatever, and I will go and I will write John Coltrane. And people say,
what are you doing?
Who is John Coltrane? Is he like a communist, or is he a socialist, or is he a Democrat? Or...
Right.
Sorry, he's above all these things, okay?
He's a jazz player.
Yeah, he's a jazz player. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
You know, anyway, so it's that, and then that's...
So hang on, that was, so the leap from flute went straight to saxophone.
Yes.
And the impetus to that was really John Coltrane, you could say. Okay.
And from that, it grew up my big love for music, for jazz music, improvisational music. I was, let's say, from the first guys in Greece back then that will play specifically the soprano saxophone, you know, the straight one. It's very peculiar.
The one that doesn't have the U-shaped thing. It was just straight. Okay. I think I have seen
like most saxophone players that play what we call the alto and the tenor sax is like that. The soprano is straight.
Okay.
And it's very peculiar because you need to approach it in a different way, you know? Okay. It's like saying like, oh, I can drive a Ducati.
Yes.
But you don't drive the same way like an electric bike. It's different. It's more sensitive approach, right? You gotta go, you know? Right.
And soprano as in it has the higher notes.
Yeah, it has the higher notes. And you need to approach it in a different way, you know. So, and you can play classical music, and you can play jazz music, you can play folklore, you can play like, you know, Irish music, whatever. So yeah, that was a little bit.
Okay, cool. So what you've just said there leads me into the next question.
Yeah.
So you started off with the soprano sax, and then you're talking about all these different things of advancing in levels. So since we're looking at this subject of learning a difficult subject, what, as you were learning, like the whole process, not necessarily taking through us everything, but what were the valuable things that contributed to you learning the saxophone and the things that didn't contribute to learning the saxophone? Like, because like I said, I consider it difficult. I would consider it difficult. I don't know how everyone else feels about learning the saxophone, if we have any saxophone players watching, but therefore, you know, like the benefits and the good experiences and the bad experiences. You can tell us about that.
You will be surprised what I'm going to tell you now. The ones who really contributed for me to learn the basics, because you need to learn the basics so you can build up. It was back in Athens where I was living in the area. There was let's say like the government of the local area. They had a service for music, so you can learn music. So I was going there a few days a week, and I will learn the basics of theory, little bit by little bit, and that was very nice. Because you were given a lesson and then you had to play it, you will be corrected, you will be, you know.
Part of school, or?
It was like a commune, the community, you know, like a community center.
Okay.
Yeah? But believe it or not, the biggest educational time for me was when I was in the army. Now, when I went to the army, there were service made and they were looking for musicians to go to the music department. So they make me a survey and say, I play the flute and I play, you know, a little bit of saxophone.
So at that time in the army, it was flute and soprano saxophone that you had basics at the community center kind of like approach. Okay.
Correct. So then finally they managed after difficulties to bring me to the music department. And the guy who was in charge, he was a lieutenant, a fantastic guy, right?
Yeah.
He was a musician, you can feel it, he loved music. and he will call me with a nickname,
Yes.
and he says, so can you play the saxophone? I said, sir, I can play, but if it's too difficult, I would like you to show me.
All
I
right.
said, don't worry, I will show you.
Yeah.
So some of the, there was songs I had to learn how to play in the band, in the marching band,
Mm-hmm.
or songs I had to play that we were playing in the officers club, or invitations out in the city to play for any kind of music.
Right.
So he says, okay, good, let's go. We'll go to the rehearsal room, give me the alto saxophone, and say, okay, good. So now you are going to learn Cobarcita. I say, what is Cobarcita, sir? It's a tango. What can I tell him? I listen to Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He says, okay, good. So can you please play to me? I can see the notes. I was like, going around.
Yeah.
And then he says, okay, what's the notes? I will play to you. Just duplicate what I'm playing.
So he would play on
Yes.
his sax,
Yeah.
and then had you.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Cobarcita goes, pam, 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 pam,
Okay.
pam, 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 pam. Good, I learned it. And then he wanted me to be the first voice in the band, playing in the front of all officers and dancing, I would be the one playing. I said, Jesus Christ. Anyway, I learned it. And he was thrilled and he was very appreciative.
Yes.
He treated me like his son.
Yes.
And,
Nice.
and I learned things to play like bossa novas, cha-cha-cha, modern songs or whatever. And then, of course, to play in the band, all the, with the army, you're in front, rom, pom, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Well, something you said there it grabbed my attention because I have definitely spoken to myself about, and I experienced myself when I was in primary school. I had a teacher that took care of me.
yeah,
And when you have a mentor or someone, teacher, that really cares
Yeah.
about what it is that they're doing with you, that care is conveyed, therefore, in positive experiences,
Yeah.
and that reinforces it. So when you say he was like a father to you, you were like a son
I'll
to
tell
him.
you what happened. Now, you need to understand he's an officer. He's
Right.
an officer in the army. But
Okay.
he is the lieutenant in charge of the music department.
Mm-hmm.
He appreciated so much that because most of the guys that will go to the music department, they were trying to sneak so they don't do the military service. The military service back in Greece, it was 22 months mandatory.
Right.
And mandatory, you had to go to the mountains, you had to do all this. Half of my time in my service in the military, I did all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the half of the rest, I was in the music department. So, but I didn't went there because, my family, they had big connections and they tried to avoid me, to put me in a good, easy job.
Mm-hmm.
So he appreciated that. And he
Right.
appreciated that I will stay in and practice. Most of the guys, as soon as, finish, let's go out for
Right.
drinks.
Because music was an out from certain types of service, not necessarily because they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So for me, and for example, there was a guy, he came in and he says, oh my God, we have a new guy coming in. Oh, what he plays? He plays the bass. Wow, I was so happy. I said, my God.
Yeah.
There is somebody comes, he arrived, the guy, and I said, oh, I'm so happy you play the bass. Yeah. So can you play something? You couldn't play anything. And I said, you play the bass? No, I don't play this bass. Oh, you play the big one, the tuba. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. It was a joke, all right?
Yeah.
But he ended up to be in the military unit because his family, they had connection with the general of the area, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Anyway, but this
He didn't have the purpose, basically. Right.
This lieutenant, he was very appreciative. Once he called me in, he says, Yanni, do you want to go to Athens? Because I was in the north.
Yes.
I said, sir, what you're talking about? Of course, to go to leave of absence in the army was like impossible, right?
Right.
Good, prepare yourself. You go to Athens, I pay for everything.
Wow.
I want you just to do a favor for me, to give a paper to my son. He's like in the university, you just give him a paper and you stay like with your family there for 4 days. I pay the travel expenses.
Yeah.
And he brought me food. I'm a military officer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why? Because he saw I was eager to play music. I was not there to
Right.
cheat. So now going back to your question, it's so important to have a good teacher
Yeah.
who is also a good person. You see, because you can be a very good teacher, but you can be, not very good person.
Yeah.
So I think having a good teacher to learn you, to guide you in anything in life, I think it's very important.
Right. So if you were to then take any examples from, let's say, the lieutenant teaching you or guiding you,
Yeah.
compared to when you're at the community center, were there certain things that you noticed that didn't work for you from your teacher and things that from the lieutenant in, the army?
Yeah.
What were the two approaches?
I'll
that
tell you
worked?
the big difference.
Yeah.
the lieutenant says, okay, Yanni, let's do it together. He was playing the saxophone also, right? Okay,
Yeah.
you ready? Comparsita. 1, 2, 3. Rum, pam, pam, pam. And I go, oh, okay, let's do it again. Again.
So he's brum, bum, bum,
Yeah.
he's playing. Da,
Yeah,
da, da,
we'll
da.
play together. So
Oh, okay.
in unison, so I can duplicate it.
Right.
And if I was not a player and say something like, okay, do you understand what is this here? It's not like, it's like, okay, good. So he will drill it and drill it and drill it. And
Right.
if there's anything that you don't know, he will explain it to me and say, this is how you sound. Oh, okay. So I became proficient on playing comparsita, which is very difficult if you don't know how to read music. You know, it goes.
So you didn't know how to read music?
I knew very simple, not very complicated things, all right?
Wow.
It goes you know, I didn't know. It was not my life.
Wow.
You know, I was like long hair, whatever, you know, rock music and jazz rock and you know.
Okay,
That was totally different. So but the difference is that
Yes.
he was coaching me in a gradient.
Right.
When I will stumble on something, he will explain to me, he will play to me until I get it.
Okay.
And that was good for him because he says you need to be playing the first voice in the band.
Right, he
The
wanted to
melody.
put you at the front.
Yeah,
Right.
because otherwise, what will have happened? He will have to force some officer
Yes.
to play. But if you have a soldier like me to play, then the officer will go with his family.
Right.
But that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, all I wanted to. So that was the difference. And then going to on the other side of the coin.
Drilling in particular.
Yeah.
And drilling at the right gradient.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had that care, so he was putting you on the right gradient.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to give you a loss or
No.
overwhelm you with things. He took it step by step, narrowed you down to a particular sequence or something,
Yeah.
got that good, and then moved on.
So, and then on the other side of the coin is like, okay, I don't get it. Why you don't get it?
Right.
said-
And the teacher's asking
Yeah,
you. Right.
I don't know.
Right.
You read it, play it. Yeah, but I don't get it.
Right.
Why you don't get it? I don't get it. Why you don't get it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it goes around. I've seen that myself,
Yeah.
and sometimes I guess it's the teacher themselves not knowing how to teach it, and they're looking for the student to tell them
Yeah.
what they don't understand.
Exactly.
But that's the thing, when
That-
you don't understand something, you kind of go blank.
Exactly. That's exactly the truth. Okay.
Yeah.
And you go to the point. It says, okay, but play C bemol. Sorry, a C bemol.
What?
What? You don't know what C bemol? No, I don't. You don't know what C bemol? No. You don't know what C? No, I don't know. And then you give up, all right?
Right.
That was one thing.
So
And
then,
other thing, which is
Yeah.
very also back then, it was a little bit like irritating for me.
yeah.
I went to a teacher. He was like supposed to be one of the best, and he didn't like that I had long hair,
Right.
and he didn't like that I was playing the flute a little bit like that. He says, "No, you need to be like that, the classical style."
Okay,
And I
yeah.
say, "I don't want to learn how to play classical music.
Right.
I love Jethro Tull. I love
Yeah.
like jazz rock, and
Yeah.
But your hair needs to go back."
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I cannot do that.
A little
But
bit of incorrect importance. Of
Yeah,
the
exactly,
item,
and
it's
really
the
like,
posture
you
with
know,
the- yeah.
So if you have long hair, you cannot play classical music. I mean, these things have changed over
Yeah.
the years,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
But you see the difference. One, he's caring, he's drilling you step by step to really
Yeah.
learn to play, and the other one gives you information that you don't get it, and he
Yeah.
makes you wrong also that you don't get it.
Yes.
And there is a lot of things like that in education, not just in music in general.
Yeah.
I remember I was going to a school, night school, to learn electrical things and so on. And this guy, he was like a dictator. You don't know how the machine runs. It's electricity plus and this. I said, I don't get it, sir. He was worse than the military guy,
Right.
Jesus, he was like, and then try to force you to understand what you don't understand it.
Right.
Instead of saying, what you don't understand. Do you
Yeah.
know? You know what I mean?
Never works.
So
never works.
education can be very painful,
Right.
So,
So I did actually the webinar I did earlier today. I discussed some of those different parts of learning a difficult subject.
Yeah.
Some of the different things we discussed is gradients, which you went over and gave a very real example of that, and drilling.
Yeah.
And how important that is. So the stories you told definitely outlined that very clearly. And another thing is, which you kind of hinted at just there, but I want to know your experience with it, is misunderstood words. So you made the experience in the
yeah.
electricity, but then also in the saxophone. And I spoke about this concept of perhaps something like keyword clearing, whereas before you go into a subject,
Yeah.
learning some of the keywords that you're going to encounter and clearing them up before you actually get into the material.
Yeah.
Did you have experience in the saxophone of encountering words you didn't understand? And
Well,
what
absolutely.
happened? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, just the other day, I finally understood something which I was trying to understand for so many years.
Wow.
Because the amount of information, the amount of complexity. But my advice to anybody who tries to learn any subject, music or anything else,
Yeah.
you need to make a list of all the keywords
Right.
associated to the subject.
Okay.
Okay. So you want to learn a saxophone, right? Good. So what is the definition of a saxophone?
That is a good question. I don't even know myself.
It's a musical instrument. Okay. Why is it called saxophone?
No idea.
No idea. And then if you start playing the saxophone and you don't really understand what is the definition of saxophone, you will have problems afterwards.
Right. My attention is stuck there, actually.
Yeah.
What is the
Because
definition
the
of
saxophone
sax?
it was invented by Adolf Sax, a Belgian inventor, and his name was Sax.
Ah.
Saxophone, and phony is a Greek word which means the voice.
Uh-huh.
So it's an instrument.
That gives voice or makes sound invented
Yeah,
by
and it
the
was
two.
invented by this guy.
Huh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, good.
Good. Now I can move on. Now I feel like I
you
can
see.
move on. Right.
Yeah. Or you go like, okay, guys, today we are going to learn scales. Scales?
Fish?
I mean,
What fish? What are we
which
talking about?
scale? Why you don't use elevator? No, scales in music. Oh, why is it called scales?
Yeah. Are we weighing something? Is it the same thing?
No, because they're going up, but also they're going down. Okay, good, excellent. They're going up and down. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So how do I know all these different scales? What it means? And then you need to clear up all the basic things.
Right.
Another thing which I found very interesting, like in the music, it says, oh, this is a major scale. Major. Oh, that's a minor. Ah, that's not so important. I understand that.
Is that the case?
No, but that's not the case. You see,
Definitely.
basically the major, it makes it a little bit more uplifting.
Right.
The minor makes it a little bit, you know,
So it has to do with the sound.
it has to do with emotion.
Uh-huh.
You see, when you play like, I give you a song, right?
Yes.
Like you hear like the Saturday Night, Fever, whatever. It's uplifting. It's like on a major, but also in a very center
Yeah.
point can go a little bit minor. Beat
Okay.
this.
Oh, yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Maybe crying because he lost his girl or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's the connection of the emotions.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is like many people and even teachers and people they wanted to learn music, they give up because they don't know the basic definitions of the subject.
Right.
You see.
Yeah. When I was learning to play guitar, my teacher, she was herself a music student.
Yeah.
So it was very practical to begin with.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to read music at all. It was really just, how they have the tablature and they show you the chord on the paper
Yeah.
and they have the strings and they have the dots on the strings. That's where you put the string. That's
Yeah.
where you put your fingers. And so that was very practical. It didn't really require anything except for duplication of pitches
Yeah.
and then, learning strumming and things like that.
Yeah.
But when it came time to learning reading music, I was lost because there's so many symbols
Correct.
and things that I didn't understand. So, music again. You've got theory. You've got things, symbols on a page you need to learn. You've got activities you need to do, not just with your hands, perhaps like with a saxophone with your mouth and that sort of thing. So, very complicated, very difficult. I would consider. Do you consider it as a difficult subject or not really?
It has made, it's like anything else. It's very hard to find myself.
Yes.
I'm still trying to find any good book
Right.
of learning the basics of music in a very simple and clear way.
Right.
And there are works, right?
Sure.
But what I'm trying to say is that it becomes complicated because the ones who try to teach, they have misunderstood words themselves.
Yeah. Right.
You see, how you're going to teach a subject when you think you know, but actually you don't know.
Right.
You see.
Yeah. And another thing I want to add to that, because it's something that I have definitely seen in my professional life as well, is that someone might be super professional. They know all the technical words related to the subject, but their grasp of the English language, and in particular grammar, and maybe even the small common words, they actually have a bit of a different thing. So when you read it, you're trying to get an idea, and you might have the technical words which give you the technical concept.
Yeah.
But sometimes the framework of the grammar is so messed up. So I have had that frustration as well, especially with learning English, trying to find something on the gradient and trying to find something that gives me all the definitions of the words.
Well, it's a very essential for anything in life, you know.
Yeah.
To learn the basics. So for any new or even, you know, anybody who has been playing music for ages or anything, I would recommend make a list of all the basic words related to the subject and make sure you fully understand them.
Right.
Fully understand. Like, for example, it says, I give you a very good example. He says, "Oh my God, who had a fantastic gig tonight, who had an enthusiastic audience." Okay. So what is the definition of the word enthusiasm? Oh, somebody who's cheerful. Very good, but that's okay, but that's not complete.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a Greek word.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah. And actually the derivation means the God is within you. That's why you are beaming.
Wow.
Wow. You see, as an artist, that's what you're trying to do. Regardless if you want to call it the universe or positive vibes or the God or God knows what, you instill this energy of life within the listener. He goes, wow.
Wow.
You see?
Okay.
Within you, yeah.
So even words that may, like enthusiasm, wouldn't necessarily be particularly related to music, but that was a very good example, because even words that are related to it or that you might experience, they can actually give you cognitions and realizations of things related to it. So that brings me to my next question, and we'll kind of work to close it out with this here. Advice on an aspiring or upcoming artist in terms of learning, if someone's confronted with the desire to, or they feel like they want to learn a musical instrument, just what pathway, what tips or things would you give in terms of specifically music?
It's not just me saying. Some of the greatest artists on the planet, and musicians, saxophone players, will say, listen to the greats. Which means when you go home, put a record of, I don't know, Charlie Parker or Dizzy Gillespie, Louis Armstrong, and listen. And listen. For me, that was the best thing. That was the biggest, education. Listen to this great thing. And I'll give you just a small example. Once back, a long time ago, we invited the principal trombone player of the Athens Philharmonic, the big orchestra, right? He was like a master. He had like diplomas and everywhere. So he came to our practicing room, and I could tell him, look, we're going to play a blues. It's 4 chords, okay? Dun, 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 dun. And he will play in solo. Da, 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 yeah, like a blues, right? And the guy, he was like that. I said, what's your problem? How do you play that? How you can play it without a paper in front of you, you know?
Right.
I say, you could just express yourself. You express yourself.
Right.
Can you write it down? No, it's improvisation. Improvisation. He was shocked.
Right.
He was listening to me. Like, how do you do that?
Right.
You need to teach me.
Teach someone to improvise. Right?
Yeah. You need to. And the guy, he was shocked that we can play something so simple like a blues with no papers, and he loved it. You know. So what I'm saying, listen to the greats, listen to music.
Sure.
You know, and then there is a lot of false information. Oh my God, saxophone is very hard. You need to have big, lungs to blow. That's not the problem. If you need to force yourself to blow so hard, you don't know how to play it.
Right. I tried to.
There is no much effort.
Yeah.
You see the effort that takes to play the saxophone like that.
Wow.
It takes more effort to blow like a balloon, for example.
Yeah, well, when I tried the trombone one time, I went red in the face trying to get the air out of this thing.
But you see, the trombone players, they go, and they don't put so much. If you have to put too much air, you don't know how to blow it, okay?
Right.
So, listen to the greats, practice in ingredients, bit by bit. Learn how to blow the instrument.
Right.
Bit by bit. It's going to take you some time. And then where you put the figures, the combinations and everything. And then play bit by bit. And don't move to the next one if you don't know what you're playing now, right? Let's say you learn something basic thing, like you play like Ta 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 tam 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 tam. Ta, 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 ta. Learn this one very well and then go to the next one.
Right.
Because if you go to the next one, you will have difficulties. So
Yes.
step by step, a practice, you know, and make sure you don't have any misunderstood words
Right.
in relation to the music, you know. Jazz. What's the definition of jazz? Oh, so many people, they have different concepts. Oh, jazz is like this. They're arguing.
I'm confused about jazz. That is
Yeah.
for sure. I listen to jazz and then I look at it and I get a concept of it.
Yeah.
But I look at a definition and I just get completely confused.
Yeah. Also rock. Why you call it rock? Like,
It's a very good question.
yeah, rock, jazz. But you can have jazz music which is classical in concept.
Right.
You see. So
Yes.
anyway, there is a definition. I don't want to
Okay.
explain it to you, and you need
No
to read.
problem.
But
Yeah.
there is so much argument because the definition is so misunderstood, right?
Yeah.
Like any other subject. I mean, you can go on and you can talk about spirituality, religion.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell you, like, a fantastic example of misunderstandings.
Yes.
You know, I'm Greek. I was like one day in a Greek restaurant, and the owner and the chef there, they were arguing non-stop. One, it was like a Christian Orthodox, and the other one, it was like a atheist.
Yeah.
And they were fighting like dogs. No, you know, there is no God. There is it's all material, you know. And there's there's God who created all these things. And they were arguing. And I go and say, guys, stop it. Okay, I understand. You are an atheist. You don't believe on God. Oh, yeah, I don't believe in God. And you are a Christian Orthodox. Yeah, and you believe. Yeah, okay, good. So how can I find something, you know, to reconcile?
Right.
Right? And I said,
Good
the guy,
question.
okay, you're an atheist. But do you believe there must be some superior energy or superior being somewhere in the universe? Maybe that
Right.
this didn't start all by accident? He says, I believe that.
Right.
Okay. But you see, probably that's his definition of God.
Right.
I said, okay, yeah, I respect that. And then they were able to have a proper communication.
Right. Because they both each defined for
Yeah,
themselves. Right.
you know, so you see, for him, God, he was like the you know, or Jesus Christ, like the guy who is like in the icons, you know, in the church or whatever. But you know, you have a different definition. You believe in superior beings, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He says, yeah, okay, for him it's like Saint John's or Saint Lucas or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
That's what he believes.
Right.
You cannot. So that was a very interesting example for me to understand
Yeah.
the importance of not having misunderstood, you know.
Yeah.
And it happens like, oh, you know, a very common one. I'm not, I'm spiritual. I'm against organized religion. Oh, really? That's very interesting line, all right?
Right, yeah.
Just to give you an example.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You are against organized religion. But are you pro-organized music? Oh, yes, because we need a philharmonic orchestra to play Bach and Beethoven. Okay, good. Like if you have one guy, he cannot play the sonata of Bach or Beethoven. Yes. So what is the definition of religion for you? Oh, you know, the Catholics. No, it's not, you know,
Right.
and all the priests. That's not
Yeah.
the definition of religion.
Yeah.
So what? And they don't know.
Yeah. That's
They
true.
have misunderstood words, false
Yeah.
data, and everything. So the
Very
second thing,
important,
yeah,
yeah.
make sure you have the basic terminology of the subject fully understood.
Yes.
You know?
And to that point as well, with regard to getting definitions for words, in music, like if I want to get the definition of something in music and understand it, I'm going to go to an appropriate source.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go and ask my next door neighbor who is a plumber who
Exactly.
doesn't know anything about music.
Exactly.
I'm going to go to a music reference to get the correct and appropriate
Correct.
definition.
Like this is like in anything in life, all right?
Yeah.
Like if I want to learn about nutrition, for example,
Yes.
or natural healing,
Yes.
I'm sorry to say that, all right? I
Yeah.
wouldn't go to a GP.
Understandable.
Yeah. So now, if I want to learn how to make a Greek salad, I will not go to an Indian guy or a Chinese guy.
Right.
I will go to me, Yanni. I can show you how to make a Greek salad. You remember, right?
I remember.
Good. So now, if I want to learn music, I will go to somebody who has some, some history, so he has some understanding. If I want to learn about really spirituality, I will go to the right place.
Right.
I'm sorry, I wouldn't go to somebody who plays cards and tells me my future. That's not spirituality. That's like whatever.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Like if I really want to do something, and forget about the media. If you're really interested, you go to the source.
Right.
You go to the source, and that's a very interesting thing I learned from Pat Metheny. Pat Metheny, he's one of the greatest guitar players. He's an amazing human being, you know.
You play guitar too?
He plays guitar.
But you play guitar
No,
too?
a little bit, not much, not like, you know.
Not like
But
Pat Metheny, okay.
He says it's all about authenticity as an artist. In the core as an artist, you're an author.
Right, okay.
Go straight to the author.
Right.
Who is the author? Is Mr. John, he's a priest in the district of Lucan or whatever? No. Who is the author?
Right.
Go straight to what Jesus Christ said.
Yeah.
Or who is the author of the music of John Coltrane? John Coltrane. Good. Go and listen to John Coltrane. You see? This is all basic things about learning things, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
So that's very good. I like that. There are a couple of points that I didn't cover earlier. You might have heard that. So when you are looking to learn a difficult subject, having a mentor, having someone that can set what we'll call the ideal scene, that's a concept that L. Ron Hubbard has definitely covered, is that in order to achieve something, perhaps even if it's difficult, if you have the ideal scene in mind, that from wherever you are to approach that, if you have that ideal scene in mind, it allows you at least to see where you're aiming for.
Correct.
So I think that's a very important point as well in learning a difficult
Absolutely.
subject. Okay, so before we end off, I'm just going to check over with Sylvia here on Zoom to find out if we have anyone following us this evening or if there's any comments or questions that we need to answer. So just before I end off with Yanni and give him a last opportunity to say anything else that he would like to, I'll let you know that we have other webinars that are online. You can have a view of them. In the link we will have that will appear on Zoom, and I think those links will also appear on the other platforms. If you would like to learn more about the study technology of L. Ron Hubbard, you can click that link and it can register you for a free consultation with one of our staff. It's no obligation, but if you find out more about the study tools and study technology, it would certainly be well worth your while, especially if you're learning a challenging and difficult subject. Okay, so Yanni, before I close out, the subject of difficult, learning a difficult subject, is there anything else that you would like to comment on?
Yes, you have some fantastic books here.
Yes.
Learning how to learn.
Yes.
You will say, come on. I have a friend, a long life friend, who are friends now for over 30 years.
Right.
I met him first time when he came from Boston. He finished some high university or college there. He came to Greece. And he had one of the biggest factories producing sofas and furniture. So I took care of him, of training him, right?
Right.
And then he ran into some of the barriers of study, and I picked it up while he was studying, and I said, listen, let me check you out. And then I asked him a very simple question. One of the barriers of study is misunderstood words, right?
Okay.
And I say, you must have some sense. Oh, I just finished the college in Boston. Look, my certification here. I'm like, ooh, super duper. And as I understand, but you have symptoms and phenomena of words that you don't understand.
Interesting.
And I said, let me check you out. And ask me a simple Greek word, a very simple. It's 3 letters. I said, what is the definition of that? Wow. He says, wow. I said, what is the definition? Wow. I said, what's the definition? He couldn't tell.
Right.
And I said, do you understand when you have even a simple word you don't understand, the rest of the thing is going to be complicated for you?
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
And he was cracked there.
Wow.
And he's a very smart guy. What a fantastic friends. Like, if you will be now listening to the webinar, he will tell you about me and what a fantastic friends.
What was his reaction? So when you gave him the definition or got him to look it up in the dictionary, the standard
it was
way,
like
what happened?
It was like a huge surprise. It's like going to a Greek restaurant and instead of waiting for your Greek menu, a Greek salad, somebody gives you like a Chinese food.
Right.
He was shocked.
He was shocked, okay.
He was shocked.
So he thought he was eating Greek, but it was actually Chinese or something like that, right?
You need to know that he became a very big follower of the technology, of the study technology of L. Ron Hubbard. And he is like a very, he's an accomplished man, he has a family, his children. One of the best factories producing sofas. If you see the sofas that he makes in Greece is amazing. Wow. He exports them everywhere.
Yeah.
Actually, he wanted to to hire me to be his deputy, But anyway,
Right.
I ended up in Ireland.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
And to that point, definitely I have encountered some professionals in my field that have been doing and practicing and carrying out professional duties on a day-to-day basis for years.
Yeah.
And then I have noticed some of the different things that maybe tell me that they didn't understand something, or I've just had a pure interest because I haven't understood.
Yeah.
What do you have as a definition of blah? And they go, it's that, you know what it is. It's like, I don't need to bother with that, And so really, I think that's super good advice is the understanding of words is absolutely key.
And just to add a little bit more,
Yes.
because now we go a little bit outside from the area of the music and saxophone.
Yeah.
Look what is going on in the society today.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much argument. But I tell you something, go to people who are arguing and ask them what you're arguing about. Oh, he's a Democrat. Okay, fine. Oh, he's a Republican.
Right.
So, what is the definition of Republican? What's the definition of Democrat? Oh, really? Oh, Democrats who who believe. No, what is the definition?
Yeah.
They don't know, Darren. I swear to God.
I definitely have experienced that too. And when you actually ask, so even if you get past that point, so what do the Democrats believe in? What are their policies? Or what does this particular political party have as their policies?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just because they grab onto something that they can understand.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an identity or a person or some particular word that they have heard, like, maybe they hear of, it's very liberal or something is very conservative, and they go, I know what conservative means and I know what liberal means. Okay, good. So I'm going to just go for that.
Yeah.
And they put everything in that one basket and they hinge all their decisions based on the little piece that they've either made up or inserted.
Yeah.
When really their depth of understanding is really quite shallow.
Yeah. And the other thing which is very important for me, when somebody truly understands a subject, music for example, he has products, he is producing things, good things in that area. You see, like, it doesn't mean, because there are also great artists who are not necessarily looking to produce tons of records or whatever, but they can play, they can perform, they can be a good positive influence to younger players or whatever,
Interesting.
And you are contributing. So you see, when you understand the basics of the art and music, you are contributing. You are a good person. Like Pat Metheny, for example, he's such a lovely guy. He people just love him. You will not find many guys, only jealous guys, that will say anything bad about him. Joe Coltrane, he was a very spiritual guy.
Interesting.
Very spiritual guy.
Prolific producer, he produced a lot of music.
He wanted through the sound, he was researching through the music to heal people. I mean, look this concept, to heal people. He says, I want to be able through the music to be like a kind of a doctor or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you see, because he had a basic understanding of music and what the music is all about. Music is not about, I'm good, look at me how I move. No.
There's definitely a lot of look at me in music these days, right?
You are there to instill something to somebody else, to make him feel better, to make him become even better, to inspire him, to contribute to the betterment of the society, you see? So, and that's why, going back to the basics of these books that are fantastic, because it looks for children, but listen, if you haven't been taught the subject, we're all children's. So we need to start from the very beginning, to tell the basics of music and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that point you said is also very important, because I have seen this myself, is that there are some subjects that do seem difficult, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So what you said, I think, was spot on, is that in some ways as a child, everything is so misunderstanding or confusing to you that you just have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But as you get older, there can be a little bit of a status or because someone has not really the self-confidence, or they're conscious, they have self-conscious, in order to go to the bottom of a difficult subject is a little bit, it's belittling in some ways, because, I don't know how to do anything in this.
Yeah. Well, it takes integrity of a character and confront to say, okay, Yanni, I'm sorry. Stop killing yourself. You don't really know.
Right.
Come on. You can go out and speak and and in the media and this and that. But let's be honest here.
Yeah.
You don't know. Go back and study.
Right.
And when you're ready, then go and speak.
There you go.
Because you see, these days, so many that try to be counselors, that try to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
The 10 rules of happiness, the 5 rules of happiness, the 5 things that you should do to become a millionaire, blah, blah, blah. Everybody tells you what to do. That's a wrong thing. The best thing to do is educate people and let them decide for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
You see, and that's the beauty of Errol Schambert's technology.
Yeah.
He gives you information, you understand, and then you can make up your mind. It doesn't say, okay, here's the 10 rules of, be a good boy. No. He gives you the information, you read it, and then you say, now that's what I would like to do.
Interesting.
You see? So there is a lot of authoritarian approach to education these days. Music, politics, doctor, okay, that's what you need to do. No, you cannot question it. No. The guy, he feels depressed, good. Antidepressants. What about the Greek salad?
That'll bring you up.
I'm sorry,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you gain knowledge of the basics of how to study and learn things, you will change for a better your life, and that's my wish for everybody, actually.
I love that, and that is something I've also seen, is that when you give someone the tools and they can think for themselves, they don't rely upon any authoritative viewpoint any longer.
Exactly.
Because they learn themselves, they have a capacity to learn themselves, and having that capacity, they don't need to listen to the 10 rules for such and such or whatever. They might read that book still.
Yeah, that's okay,
But they take that in and they compare it to their own experience, their own reality, and combine those things for something that's true for them.
That's right.
And that works really, really well.
Yeah, that's...
Okay, Yanni. Well, I do hope at some stage in the future you bring the saxophone back next time. So we can show everyone, so you can play something.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be doing an art series at some stage in the future, because deep down, so many of us are artists and are creative people. So we're going to be looking at a series of webinars on that, and I definitely want to have you back. So
it will be a pleasure.
I hope you go away and prepare.
Good.
So thank you very much. I'm just going to check in, and I see here we have people watching on the different platforms. There will be a link that will appear. Sylvia, who is assisting me, can get in touch with you if you have any questions. But for now, the chat window on Zoom will stay open for another minute or two, just in case any last-minute questions or other things are coming in. But for this evening, Shanae, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Yanni.
Thank you.
Okay.